Let's go. This is the JMG Live Music Lounge podcast with Jacquari Harris. Interviews with music artists and special guests from around the world.
What's going on, everybody? This is Neo, and you are checking out the JMG Live Music Lounge. Keep it locked right here, y'all. Peace and love.
What's up? This is Afrojack. You're listening to the JMG Live Music Lounge.
Hi, this is Martin Knight from Tour Records, and you are checking out the JMG Live Music Lounge.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jacquari Harris, the host of the JMG Live Music Lounge podcast, and you're listening to the 31st episode with an interview coming up with Jamaican singer and songwriter OMI. You know, it's a cold Wednesday here in Houston. Well, I mean, it's cold for us. It's about 50 degrees, so we're still doing better than the East Coast. But I love cold weather, so, you know, I'm enjoying it. There's been so much going on in music. You know, The Weeknd just gave a good performance at the Super Bowl this past weekend. Miss Cardi B just released her latest single, Up. But there's two ladies that have been on my playlist for the past month that I want to talk about. Saweetie and Doja Cat.
JMG Live Music Lounge.
So my music headline is on Saweetie. You know, last month Saweetie released her latest single called Best Friend featuring Doja Cat, and I love this song. Right now the song is at number 42 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart, but who knows where it might be next week because this song is still being picked up by radio stations across the country. In the music video, Saweetie is doing what she does best, which is being fabulous, and you know this if you follow her on Instagram. You know, her and Doja Cat celebrate their friendship at a strip club, at home, by the pool. I mean, these ladies are just everywhere. Now, Best Friend is one of the first songs to be released from Saweetie's upcoming debut album, Pretty Bitch Music. There hasn't been a release date yet for the album, but, you know, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what she has coming up next because Saweetie is just doing it right now. So OMI is a Jamaican-born singer, songwriter, and ultra music sign artist who rose to fame in 2015 when he released his international hit, Cheerleader. You know, the song has been very successful over the years. It was certified platinum 5 times in Sweden. It hit the number 1 spot on the Billboard Hot 100 chart here in the States, and the song made history on the UK singles chart by staying at number 1 for 4 consecutive weeks, which made OMI the only Jamaican artist to hold that position on the chart. You know, at the end of 2020, Cheerleader continued to be the gift that keeps on giving for OMI, as the music video for the song reached 1 billion views on YouTube. You know, so in his interview on the JMG Live Music Lounge podcast, I asked OMI how his biggest hit has changed his life both professionally and personally.
Well, I think Cheerleader as my was my breakthrough single. It was my breakthrough single because it placed me on a platform that was international. You know, I had world recognition, you know, with this song. And I could tell by the reaction of the people whenever I performed this song anywhere in the world. You know, everybody was singing along to it. And that's really not an easy feat to accomplish as an artist, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Especially on your first album. That was your first album, right?
Especially on my first album, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And what was the process in putting that song together? I mean, how did Cheerleader come about?
Well, I always tell people this story. Like, Cheerleader is one of the most organic songs I've ever written. Like, it's one of the most natural. It just, everything just flowed when it came on to composing this track. And I think like it came from a genuine place, you know, so people connect with it really well because of that.
Yeah. And 5 years later, the song is still doing well. It just hit 1 billion views on YouTube. You know, how did you feel when you heard that it hit 1 billion views?
Man, I personally, I just felt like Cheerleader was safe to say the gift that keeps giving, man.
Yeah, definitely. Now, there's been so many successful artists from Jamaica, Shaggy, Sean Paul. How has your Jamaican roots influenced you as an artist?
Well, I I love the fact that I had so much musical influences and so many big names. We can start off with, Bob Marley. We can go to the younger generation, the Shaggy, the Sean Paul. You had so many people there paved the way for me. So many people who have had like that international breakthrough that most of us are looking for. So there was a lot for me to look up to, a lot for me to emulate. And I try to follow the good examples of these artists.
Yeah, definitely. And so, the song hit 1 billion views. You're from Jamaica, you have these great Jamaican roots. Who are some artists that have inspired you? I know you mentioned Bob Marley, but is there anyone else that you're like, okay, I want to sing like this guy, or I want to play an instrument like this person?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, yeah, we know Bob Marley was a well-rounded artist. He also played an instrument, and that is something I always admired. Like, I think if I'm pursuing a craft, I wanna go more in depth. I don't just want to scratch the surface, if you know what I mean. So I think I followed in that footstep. That was also an influence on me. That crossover sound, that international sound, from Shaggy and Sean Paul was also a big influence on me. As I mentioned, when I was about 18, 19, I started, tapping a little bit more into the international music, the R&B, and I became a big fan of John Legend, still is today. I actually started singing, like doing like renditions of John Legend songs to train my voice, trying to find my sound. And people used to be like, "Yo, you sound like that dude, man." And I and I was like, "Yo, that's because he's like my idol. I really look up to John. I like the way he sings. I like the way he writes.
Yeah. Well, I can see that a little bit because a couple of weeks ago when I was, looking you up and looking at your social media, and listening to some of your music videos, you do have that little bit of a John Legend sound to your voice a little bit. You have your own
Yeah,
flavor, of course, but I can definitely hear it. Now, speaking of John, I know you played the piano as well, right? Because I've seen you
yeah.
on some of your Facebook posts playing piano. When did you learn to play?
This came about sometime in 2012, 2013, when I first put out Cheerleader. That's when I met Mr. Dillon. I met Clifton Specialist Dillon back in 2019, back in 2009. Sorry, and he's all about growth and development of artists, and the more interest you show is the more interested he is in helping you to accomplish this. So one of the first thing he did was to create a studio space for me where I could record and practice at my own convenience, and that is something that I will forever be grateful for. And it was this opportunity that landed me in a spot where I was able to. I mean, I play by ear, but I learned how to handle my way around the system, handle my way with the equipment and stuff. So I'm very grateful for that.
Okay. And just listening to some of your music, most of them have a tropical sound to them. And
Hmm.
would you say that that's your style? I mean, obviously you're from Jamaica, you're used to different drums and different kind of international
Hmm.
beats. But would you say you have like a tropical international sound to your music? How would you describe the OMI sound?
I do believe I have a signature sound, but I call it that, the OMI sound, because I don't like to put a lid or put myself in a proverbial box, so to speak. You know what I mean? I like to I like to dabble a little bit into the arts. So I'm not just about being one dimensional. I like a little bit of flavor. Come on, I'm Jamaican.
You
You know
have
what I mean?
to.
We all about flavor right here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I like to dabble it a little bit, and just explore the arts. So I don't like to put myself in a box, but I do know that I have a signature sound, and that's what I'm about. It's not about hitting all the runs and hitting the highest note, but it's about having that sound that when you start singing, people instantaneously know that this is this artist.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I've always strived to accomplish.
Yeah.
You hear Stevie, you know that's Stevie. You hear Ray Charles, you know that's Ray Charles. You hear Michael Jackson, you know that's Michael Jackson. Like it doesn't matter what genre he is what character he's in. You know, he just has the sound.
And you've worked with Felix. I believe his last name is Jahan. He's the DJ.
Yeah,
You work
yeah.
with him on Cheerleader. I think you also work with him on Masterpiece. What is it
Oh,
about Felix that you like that makes you want to work with him, on your music?
I think that Felix brings the other half, if you know what I mean. Like I think he brings the other half. I'm not a greedy person. I'm not about like, feeling myself to the point where I believe that, it stops with me. If somebody else can come into the equation and bring something different and take it from 50 or 60% to 98 or 100, why not? I never get in the way of the music.
Yeah.
And I think he does that. Like genuinely he does that,
And who are some artists in addition to Felix that because I've followed him for a few years. I like his music also. But who are some other people besides him that's on the OMI playlist? Like, if you're just chilling at the house or you're at the beach or somewhere, who do you listen to?
I'm I'm listening to a whole plethora of music right now. Like I'm so I'm in a hip hop, but to a degree. And I mean, no disrespect to the young cats right now, but there are only a few people in hip hop that I like my ears is able to tolerate. You know what I mean? I love Joyner Lucas. I love his music. I buy his album. You know, um, I listen to all of the pop artists because I'm still in that genre. Predominantly. So I do listen to pop artists, and I still go back to some of the oldies, like the oldies but goodies.
Yeah. And speaking of hip hop, do you listen to some of the female hip hop artists, Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B? Are you a fan
Yeah,
of any of those ladies? Megan just dropped her
yeah.
album not too long ago, so everybody's still doing the body dance.
And listen, I like when an artist is able to create something, I would say, from out of thin air. Just create something and people gravitate to it. People adopt to it and become something household. Like I like that concept. I like that idea. I like when you're an innovator. It doesn't matter if, some people praise it or dislikes it, but you do it and it takes. I like to see that happen for an artist. I like when an artist is able to stand out for something. And just to go off topic a little bit, even when people like, yo, what do you say if people say you're a one-hit wonder? The conversation always comes up. And I'm like, yo, listen, it is best to be remembered for something.
Than for nothing at
It
all.
is than nothing at all. Just be producing a whole bunch of nothing, putting it out there. Nobody takes. It doesn't take.
We've all been dealing with COVID-19, this whole year. How have you been coping? Obviously, they just rolled out a couple of vaccines here in the States and, other places around the world. But how have you been coping with, COVID-19 since, we're not performing and, doing concerts and live
Yeah.
events right now?
Yeah, I mean, I see everything that's happening right now in terms of, I feel really bad for everybody right now, including artists, because it's like we gotta be trying harder than we ever had to. You know what I mean? We have to go digital with so many stuff that we were accustomed to, our live performances, for instance. Now we got to be doing it online. It's a whole different flavor. It's a whole different feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of, we're losing a lot of family members to this thing. We're losing a lot of people that we care about. A lot of people in our circle, in our closest circle. Everybody is touched by this in some way or another. Where, as it relates to a vaccine, man, I'm just on the sidelines waiting to see what happened. I'm not very vocal about what takes place in politics or certain things, but I'm on the sideline watching to see what happened. I'm not gonna be no guinea pig for nobody though.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where I'm at.
And your new single "Roller Coaster" is out now. How would you describe the song for someone who hasn't heard it yet?
Yeah, I mean, Roller Coaster is. I think we've taken it up a notch in terms of what I'm known for. Um, and we're coming out with another single. We're coming out with another single as well, which I think is going to take it up even further. I think Roller Coaster though is one of the songs that we all need right now in terms of giving you that vibe because of how stressful these times have been.
And do you have a certain process when you're making music? Like, do you go into the studio and you just start recording, or do you go in and you need to meditate, have some tea? Like, do you have a certain ritual that you go through before you start recording music?
Light a big fire and dance around it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, not really. I think my process is also very random. Because all right, let's say for instance, the other day I was in a car with my girl, my partner, and I was like, "Yo, just turn the radio off for a little bit. I'm getting something," And I was just there vibing, and I looked over to her. I'm like, "Yo, what you think about that concept?" And she was like, "Yo, that's wicked." And the next day I was in the studio and we went in at 10 in the morning, and by 3:30, 4 o'clock, we had a song. We recorded, we produced the beat, everything. We put it all together, and I had a song. I was playing a demo by 5 o'clock. So the process, it is so random. I always say, my writing process has no respect for my time. It doesn't matter when. It could be 3 a.m. in the morning when I'm asleep and it wakes me up and I got to get up and get on that piano and start composing.
Right. Well, I mean, that's all part of being a creative person, right? Because you never know
Yes.
when it's going to hit you. It could be 3 a.m. It could be, like you say, in your car,
Exactly.
any time of the day.
Exactly. And it only takes you that moment to just obey that call. You know what I mean? And you never know where it might get you. It might get you a billion views,
Right.
and a few platinums around the world.
Exactly.
That's a diamond on that wall, and it only took you like a few minutes to get up and heed that call.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have anybody in particular that you would like to collaborate with? Like, is there one artist that that you haven't even met yet, but you definitely want to work with them?
Definitely. I would want to do something with Burna Boy. I definitely
Okay.
I would want to hear what that sound like. I know I have a fan base. I have a fan base in the African region. I just, because of everything, and we were supposed to visit, like for years we were supposed to go there, and at the time when it should have happened, and here we go, COVID-19. So I'm hoping that 2021 will bring like a brand new. Sorry. Yeah, I'm hoping that 2021 will kind of bring some kind of normal so we can travel again.
JMG Live Music Lounge.
Subscribe to the JMG Live Music Lounge on YouTube and be sure to follow us on social media.